So then we have more understanding from the time of the Second Tabernacle services that we find in the Aramaic English translation of the word. This translation comes from the original manuscripts of the prophets of the Israelic lineage. So then you can understand the time of the end. But Yeshayahu the prophet, the great prophet that was slain, sawn in half, we find ourselves then understanding and deciphering his holy instructions that came straight from heaven. We find then Yeshayahu the prophet, the 61st chapter, explaining the areas of the returning of the holy cities, of the Messiah laid waste for many centuries. Besides these, we find ourselves also during the time of the restoration of the holy cities and also Gentiles included in the holy plan. Per the Gentile level, then we have to recognize there is a creator working behind the scenes but very active. We find then these plans coming together with the utmost precision where there is no more BS. We find ourselves during the time where then America, unfortunately wallowing around, the government is absolutely incompetent, they don't understand what's going on then in the Pacific, and then not only this, we find then the government noveling around with North Korea. But the government then is so inept of making decisions, and they don't evaluate what the Messiah has said regarding the system and what's coming in the future during the time where then he said, and the freighters of the earth would be in charge. So let's understand that this war or desire for war or threats of war, it's only a novel to shake USA away from North Korea. They want the sanctions lifted. They want to become part of the Asia market. So then, how come the government does not have a half a brain to understand the war caused by North Korea would work against the Asia market? Why are we making an novel out of this situation, understanding North Korea is part of the Asian market? The factory of the planet, do you think it would have clouds of radiation going through the nation of China? Then comes the stupidity of our government. Because of a lack of objective, a lack of a task, a lack of a plan, a lack of basic understanding of market. Thus the U.S. government then not only understanding trade, playing around with sequestration, playing around with shut down the government, playing around with security, playing around with shut down the government, or then NRA. Then they play around with North Korea. Understanding then China is the factory of the planet. This also is a shaking up of our own citizens not maintaining their data updated. Why are we being, in quote, bombarded with junk from North Korea where they are not going to start a war? China is not going to let them to go to war with nuclear weapons. What North Korea truly wants is USA outside. They want USA out of their backs. They want sanctions lifted. But then USA, instead of come to its senses, understanding the American system is being rejected worldwide, you find then people, investors of 12 digits. If you read the information from the Pacific, if you understand the realm of Australia, the realm of New Zealand, there are investors over there speaking of the US stocks are being dumped. 12 digits people. They are simply dumping American U.S. stocks. But then we do not get the real understanding in our country because we are so inflated with self-pride. And we don't understand the market. Let me ask you this. Understanding the future of China as a factory of the world, do you think China would let his neighbor playing around with nuclear weapons? If you do, you are retarded. How is it China is going to put up with clouds of radioactive material flowing around in their country? Then the ignorant government does not have an objective. They don't know how to resolve problems. They are only dealing with expenses. They don't know how to gather taxes. They don't understand what goes on in the Pacific. But they have this, only God knows what, expecting another result from doing the same junk. So let's evaluate one more time for those people that have to hear over and over again. You have China set from a long time ago, becoming then the factory of the world. They have a neighbor, North Korea, heavily sanctioned. Then you have USA, a country on the other side of the world, being a thorn on the side of many nations, because we are a nation not producing. We are a nation only causing trouble. Our monetary system is no longer valid. 12 digits investors already living in the Pacific. The information is coming from the Pacific. Dumping American stocks. And there are videos explaining why they are dumping American stocks. Then you find China from the Pacific, neighbor of North Korea, and North Korea heavily sanctioned because of USA, UN, and the same old scoundrels of the past. Do you think they're going to start a nuclear war? Is not our government incompetent? Liars and scoundrels. It's not going to have a war. North Korea wants United States out of their backs, lifting up the sanctions. Make sure then they can unite China and North Korea. Make sure they are friends. Make sure via China then they can use the nuclear capability for electricity reasons. We must unite the Asian market. If we make them friends and lift the sanctions, then eases up the problem, and then the Asian market goes forward. But the United States is creating problems. We are a troublesome nation. We don't have any aim. We have no objective. The leaders are incompetent. And rather than being a solution, we become a problem. A nation where there are so many pastors, so many teachers, so many evangelists. Do we understand what it means, the false prophet? But let's not go there at the moment. Let's understand Gentile level. Let's understand we must update our system and start then instant taxation system. and lifting the sanctions from North Korea and make sure North Korea becomes friends with China. Make sure they are part of the Asian team over there. Because the 12 digits earning people from the Pacific read the Pacific information. Read the information from New Zealand. Read the information from Australia. You find 12 digits people dumping American stocks. It's showing the future of America is done, is ruined. And we can't use our military for our purposes. Because the time for it is not yet. The time is for restoration. Time of destruction is later, is when the autumn feast starts. We are far away from the autumn feast yet. So let's understand plainly. Our government is incompetent. Investors are turning their backs on America. 12-digit investors are dumping American stocks. They don't believe in America anymore. Not because America is bad, because the U.S. government is incompetent. Try to understand the distinction. What causes people not believing in America is the U.S. government, not the potential of America. If you replace these scoundrels at this very moment with fresh people, knowledgeable people, knowledge of the Asian market, what it takes to line up with the Asian market, then the country goes forward. So America has potential as long as we understand the requirements of the Asian market. Because the time in the season demands understanding of the Asian market. The reason why these people of 12 digits, they are dumping American stock is because they don't believe in America as it is. Because America is out of reality. And these people, they are living in the Pacific. They understand the Pacific system. Please stay tuned.